In 2024, this soccer star turned down a $1.1 billion contract to play in Saudi Arabia. The year before, Kylian Mbappe turned down the largest contract in sports history, and in 2021, Tiger Woods turned down $750 million to join Live Golf. These offers were all part of Saudi Arabia's controversial plan to become a major player in sports. And while they're writing huge checks to try and make that happen, some are accusing the government of using sports to cover up bigger issues in the country. Welcome to FOS Explains. Today we're diving into how 2024 became Saudi Arabia's biggest year in sports, what happened, why it's so controversial, and what comes next. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is located right here, in the Middle East just south of Iraq. The country sits on huge natural deposits of oil, and the country got rich by selling that oil in the late 20th century. It was so profitable that oil accounted for more than half of the country's GDP every year until 2024. But there's a big problem with that. The world is slowly moving away from fossil fuels like oil. Instead, it's moving towards renewable energy, like solar power, and we're driving electric cars. So the Saudis realized they need to grow their economy beyond just oil. The group in charge of investing the Saudi government's money is called the Public Investment Fund. It has nearly $1 trillion in assets and is the world's 6th largest group of its kind. The PIF is at the center of a plan called Vision 2030, which is like a giant to-do list for making Saudi Arabia a more modern and exciting place to live, theoretically opening up new parts of the economy. One big part of this plan is sports. The government wants to use sports to bring more visitors to Saudi Arabia, create jobs, and make the country more well-known around the world. A lot of American sports fans heard about the Saudi PIF for the first time in 2021 when they launched Live Golf. And in just a few years, Saudi Arabia has already made a huge splash in sports. They've hosted major events like F1 races, top boxing matches, tennis championships, and more, showing the world that Saudi Arabia is open for business. And 2024 was the most successful year yet. The Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and its subsidiaries have secured at least 346 sponsorships across global sports in 2024. This massive number of sponsorships highlights the PIF's growing influence throughout the world of sports. The PIF kicked off 2024 by inserting themselves in pro tennis. First came the partnership with the Association of Tennis Professionals, or ATP, back in March. The PIF became the official naming partner of the ATP rankings and a sponsor of premier events, including Indian Wells, Miami, Madrid, Beijing, the ATP Finals, and the Next Gen ATP Finals. And they took it a step further in May. The PIF struck a multi-year partnership with the Women's Tennis Association, or WTA, making Riyadh the host city for the WTA's season-ending championship. The WTA Finals in November marked the first time a professional women's tennis tournament was held in the kingdom. In July, the PIF-backed esports company Savvy Games Group hosted the Esports World Cup as part of an effort to become the global esports hub. And by August, the PIF made its first move into North American soccer. They agreed to a multi-year partnership with CONCACAF, the governing body for soccer in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. The deal puts the PIF in an important role as the region plans for the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup and a potential bid for the 2031 Women's World Cup. A month later, Saudi Arabia hosted and sponsored the Riyadh Season Noche UFC event. That marked the beginning of a growing partnership with the UFC. And on December 11th, FIFA President Gianni Infantino made a historic announcement, revealing Saudi Arabia as the host of the 2034 FIFA World Cup. When Saudi Arabia announced its bid for the 2034 World Cup, it seemed like a fairly unlikely dream, but things moved surprisingly fast. FIFA gave countries in Asia and Oceania priority to host the event, narrowing the competition, and Saudi Arabia quickly stepped in, offering strong financial backing. Their bid was boosted by support from over 200 football associations worldwide, and with this level of support, there was really no serious competitors. So FIFA confirmed Saudi Arabia as the host just weeks after they submitted their bid, which was an extremely fast. Hosting the World Cup isn't just about soccer though, it's about the transformation. Saudi Arabia plans to invest billions in infrastructure. This includes state-of-the-art stadiums, new roads, and world-class hotels to accommodate players and fans from around the globe. But how did Saudi Arabia become a global player in sports? Saudi Arabia and the PIF sent shockwaves through the sports world in 2021. They launched Live Golf, a rival to the PGA Tour that offered eye-popping prize money and massive guaranteed contracts. They offered Tiger Woods a contract reportedly worth between $700 and $800 million, and lured stars like Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, and Bryson DeChambeau over the first 2 years. But no sport can match the global passion and influence of soccer, which is why soccer has become the centerpiece of Saudi Arabia's sports revolution. In 2022, PIF made headlines again, acquiring Premier League club Newcastle United FC, further cementing its growing influence in global sports. Then the big news dropped: Cristiano Ronaldo's move to Al Nassr in 2023. When one of the sport's greatest legends chose Saudi Arabia, it was a statement. Saudi Arabia was legit. Soon other top players followed. Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema, and later players like N'Golo Kante and Neymar. They all signed deals with Saudi Pro League clubs, making headlines worldwide. Thanks to investments from the PIF, Saudi sports leagues are able to lure top talent by offering salaries that other clubs simply can't match. Ronaldo reportedly earns over $200 million a year, a number that's unheard of even in Europe's top leagues. But Saudi Arabia didn't stop at players. They've also began investing heavily in their domestic soccer league, with hopes of turning it into one of the world's top-tier soccer competitions. Saudi's sponsorships are growing too. Aramco, the country's state-owned oil company, sponsors high-profile events, including upcoming FIFA World Cups in 2026 and 2027, and these partnerships signal Saudi Arabia's intent to be seen as a permanent fixture in global soccer. Aside from soccer and golf, Saudi Arabia has also got into boxing and MMA. It began with hosting major fights like the 2019 rematch between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr. But it's not just about single events. The Saudi government reportedly plans to invest $5 billion into a new global boxing league. This initiative aims to bring top fighters and promoters under one roof, turning the kingdom into a hub for boxing. In September, Saudi Arabia hosted and sponsored the Riyadh Season Noche UFC event, marking the beginning of a growing partnership with the UFC. This collaboration is more than just promotional, it's strategic. By hosting high-profile fights and bringing top MMA talent to Saudi soil, the kingdom is tapping into one of the world's fastest-growing sports. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: sports washing. For all the big headlines, Saudi Arabia's growing influence in sports hasn't come without controversy. Critics argue that the kingdom is using sports to distract from its questionable human rights record, accusing the country of sports washing. They argue that instead of addressing allegations of censorship, gender inequality, and treatment of migrant workers, Saudi Arabia is spending billions on sports to polish its global image. These human rights violations are the same reasons that some of these athletes are turning down the massive contracts that are offered to them to compete in Saudi Arabia. Hosting major events like the FIFA World Cup and signing superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo creates feel-good headlines that essentially sweep the underlying issues under the rug. Now, on the other hand, the kingdom's defenders argue that investing in sports is part of a legitimate national strategy to diversify the economy and create a better future. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said this on Fox News in 2023.
Well, if sport washing gonna increase my GDP by 1%, and then I will continue doing sport washing.
Another concern is governance. FIFA's fast track of Saudi Arabia's World Cup bid raised plenty of eyebrows. Critics worry that global sports organizations are bending the rules to pocket big paychecks from the kingdom, raising questions about the integrity of the governing bodies themselves. And then there's the centralized control. With state-backed entities like SRJ Sports Investments leading the charge, it's hard to ignore the political undertones. Are these ventures purely about sports, or are they tools for geopolitical influence? At the end of the day, for most people it boils down to one thing: money versus morals. For fans and players, the question is whether to embrace the huge money Saudi Arabia brings in, or to take a stand on ethical grounds. But controversies aside, it seems clear that Saudi Arabia is just getting started. The PIF made big steps in 2024, but there's one area to watch closely going into 2025: the NFL. The league recently approved a select group of private equity funds to acquire up to 10% ownership stakes in teams. Although the PIF cannot directly invest in NFL franchises, it could do so indirectly by backing a private equity fund that acquires a stake in an NFL team. Overall, Saudi Arabia has proven that it is willing to spend the money to become a major sports destination. That includes hosting major events like the World Cup, creating new leagues like Live Golf, or sponsoring pre-existing sports entities like ATP and WTA. So expect them to continue bidding on sports. Maybe something like the Olympics could be in play one day. Saudi Arabia's fast rise could have ripple effects though. Smaller markets might struggle to compete with Saudi Arabia's financial muscle, and traditional sports hubs like Europe and the US might watch a power shift away from them. We're already seeing it in soccer, where players are choosing Saudi clubs over European giants for gigantic salaries. For Saudi Arabia, the opportunities are endless. The chance to become a global sports superpower is within reach, but sustaining this momentum won't be easy. Can they navigate the backlash, maintain international partnerships, and ensure long-term success? Or will their ambitions collapse under the weight of controversy and potential economic challenges? As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Saudi Arabia is rewriting the rules of the game. But is this a new era of progress, or are we witnessing the world's most expensive PR campaign? So what does the future hold? Well, let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more on the business of sports.